What is up everyone, it is Viking Actual here and welcome back to the channel. It's been a few extra days than just a week since my last video. I've been I'm in an iron of whether or not to do this video, and then a lot of thought of how I want this video to be perceived, the narrative of the video. So there's been a lot of time kind of thinking about that. I've also been watching numbers. To start off with a huge positive, which I hope to maintain through the video, although there may be aspects where it does drop off a bit. But to start off with a huge positive, we are nearly at 200 subscribers. A fantastic milestone for the channel. So my plan was always to do a bit of a shorter video this week with the plan in place that once we hit that milestone I can then come out with something bigger. So obviously for my 100 subscriber special, we had how to theory craft and how to make your own builds. I don't know whether this time it's going to be something along those lines that's a bit different to everything else we've done, or whether I can finally get out the finalized meta build for PvP to set in stone. This is what you should be running. There's the gameplay to prove it. So yeah, that's the really positive I want to start off with. Obviously at the moment my priority is to trying to bring out that steady stream of content to you, but also not only are the videos blowing up, it's the community engagement which is absolutely astonishing. It's been so good, and I feel like my part of that is making sure that I respond to all of you guys, that I'm active, that you feel heard, that I'm here if you want to bounce an idea off me, you want my opinion on something, you want clarification on something, that I'm here for you guys. And I am here for that all day. I absolutely love the community engagement. I love engaging with you guys. So that has been a priority for me, making sure that everyone gets that response and everyone feels heard. But that is enough said on that. Super positive. Moving on to today's video. This is going to be similar to one that I've done before, and I would have hoped that it would have been a little bit longer, since I would have to make one. However, ZeniMax, in their great wisdom and understanding of their player base in PvP, has released Vengeance again. See, the skies over Cyrodiil are all nasty, and yeah, no. They have released it, and it is out until the 15th. I am going to try and keep this as positive as I possibly can, so I am going to very quickly rattle through why I think ZeniMax are fools, and why I think they have made so many mistakes, one of which being the biggest is not listening to anyone. But then I'm going to put a positive spin on it, and what I would like to see 2026 PvP, which I think could revive the game. So, starting off, we have Vengeance until the 15th. They have, this is a positive, this is actually a positive, they have given us Grey Host this time. Yes, you are not locked in for 2 weeks to only play Vengeance, not forcing you to play their watered down, diluted version of PvP. You don't have to go to just Battlegrounds, you don't have to be in just Duels. I noticed it, I think it was yesterday, maybe it came out the day before, that they have allowed us to play in Grey Host still. So your under 50s, Blackreach and all those, they're gone, but we do still have Grey Host. So if you want normal PvP, open world, that is available to you. While that is a positive, the fact that they've had to include it is a message in its own right. And I think it's a message that by doing this they've acknowledged, but they're ignoring at the same time. They've had to put Grey Host in while they have a Vengeance event on, so that they can keep open world PvP alive. That speaks volumes. Yes, they've messed up BGs, the latest update, the winter update quarterly, absolutely did nothing to fix anything. So BG's is still broken and not what people are wanting since they changed that. The first couple of days Vengeance came out, all the dual zones just blew up because no one touched it with a barge pole. So they've obviously been like, oh, open world PvP and Vengeance isn't receiving the love we thought it would. Shocker. So they've given us Grey Host. The only other change with Vengeance this time, compared to previous, is that we now have perks. I mean, thanks, I guess. A red perk, a yellow perk, and a blue perk. I mean, why not make it green, as this is essentially the replacement for CP? And if this is their idea of, oh, we'll give you a bit of variety. No. Just no. You've taken morphs, which I think is a step back to before even hybridization was brought in, because even before that you still had morphs where you could choose to be a magicka build or a stamina build. Obviously we've lost that now, but this is the skill you can run. Bog standard. Like, there's no change in it. You can't make it, you know, a bit more of a tanky version, you can't make it a healing version, like, you can't modify it at all. Then not to mention that they have still stripped away all of that class identity, because although you have different perks, different skills rather, you have no perks. You have no special buffs for running that build. It's insane. And if this is the future of PvP, they need to be really, really clear on their narrative. Are they doing it because they want class identity back? Because if so, why have they stripped us of our perks? Why are we not allowed to use sets? Why are sets banned? Why are we given just random base stats to play with that everyone has the same? There's no skill in that. It's just, you know, all the fights are super, super long because you're just basically hitting each other tit for tat. Really, really boring. And obviously, as you can see, peak time on an EU server, no one is playing. No one wants this. But so that I can move on to more positive things, thinking about 2026, my last point on this is what a missed opportunity I think ZeniMax has, you know, afforded themselves. We had that quarterly update towards the end of this year. This is the final one for the year, that brought in nothing. And I know that long-term players that have just forked out for like the season pass and stuff, expecting, you know, changes to PvP, balancing that we desperately need, so that, you know, normal open world isn't Clone Wars where everyone's running assassination, stormcalling, and animal companions. There was so much that they could have done, but didn't. And I think that in its own right is a shame, but the timing was even worse. Because New World Ultimatum, that everyone was flocking to, it's the new MMO, it's going to be the new ESO, it's going to be amazing, closed down. All of that hype, dead in the water. And it gave ZeniMax this winning ticket if they had the courage to take it, where they had this captive audience, particularly on consoles, maybe not so much on PC, where they were the only MMO worth their salt. If they had fixed what needed fixing, because they were aware of it, I think if we're honest, we know that, they would have all of these players either returning or new that are looking for a similar experience that they could have cashed in on. And I think it's such a missed opportunity that update was a complete waste. For a quarterly big update, it was a complete waste. And that's a huge shame. And then obviously to then bring in Vengeance, any players that you did manage to entice, or any players you return, you then punish them by dropping this? Beyond me. Beyond me. I'm not sure what the developers are thinking at the moment. But yeah, absolutely baffling. But hoping, praying they get their act together, thinking towards 2026 and what they can do to fix this game, because they still have that captive audience. They still have that to cash in on, that they are the only MMO that is worth playing on consoles. What can they do to get those players through the doors, get those players on this game? I touched on one thing that they can do, which I'm hoping to see in 2026. Balancing of the classes. Now, I know that they released something earlier this week to say that they were doing some tweaks. Some of them may be reverses to some of the subclassing aspects, but that they were really looking at the class identity, and they gave us a snapshot of the Dragon Knight update, and I think that is the right idea. I think going back to there being that definitive identity of a class, that if you're a Dragon Knight, this is what to expect. If you're a Warden, this is kind of what to expect, and that identity. I think that's the right way to go, and I think changing up those skills as part of rebalancing, like they did when they introduced subclassing, is also the right way to go. Because I think some skill lines need that buff, or some skill lines need that nerf to bring everything in, so that we don't have this rigid meta where everyone runs exactly the same, and PvP essentially becomes the Clone Wars from Star Wars, where everyone is running the exact same. So I think that their idea going into 2026 is positive, and I'm behind them making those changes. Although looking at some of the changes that they've proposed for Dragon Knight, some of it, from reading it, it's like they've wrapped it up as a change, and they've changed the wording, but the ability does something essentially exactly the same. Now, Dragon Knights aren't one of those meta skills at the moment, and I feel like when I was looking at the changes, some of the changes can definitely be considered a nerf. Now, unless they do heavy nerfs on all the other skill lines, it's going to make Dragon Knight essentially weaker, even weaker. But obviously we need to wait and see what they do to all the other classes. We need to see what reverses they make with subclassing. But if they can do it right, ZeniMax, if you can do it right, then it should mean some really positive PvP changes in 2026. So I am looking forward to that. Another positive I'm looking forward to, which I hope comes out in 2026, is that they have said they are working on cross-platform. I did mention this in my last video, and I think that cross-platform being introduced to this game would give it a revitalization, even if it didn't draw in new players or draw old players back. It would mean that rather than being 3 EU servers for rather than being 3 EU servers and 3 NAA servers and all of them being partially full, you would then have 1 EU, 1 NA, and you might actually have to queue to get in. Like, it would mean that there would be more players playing. And I think, at least my mindset, my logic is that if you reduce the workload by 2/3 by removing 2 servers from every region, surely that means that the quality of that server is then better. You've got more team members dedicated to making sure that that one server is working, at least in my mind. So I am looking forward to that. I think it is going to mean that there will be more PvP, more diverse PvP, and hopefully a better quality. We'll see. We'll see. Um, and I think looking at 2026, I think I would like to see Battlegrounds. I'd like to see them work on Battlegrounds. Not necessarily. No, I would go as far as to say I would like to see a reverse to some of the changes. Certainly a rotation of the different kind of maps. That was their big thing about when they changed it, that it would be all different maps. But it's the same 3 maps on rotation. So I think, 2026, I'd love to see maybe going back to what it used to be. I remember a time when there used to be like battlegrounds of 3 teams, and I thought that was a really fun dynamic. Where you're not just in competition with the other team, but there's another team add-on as well. And I think that kind of trio in Battlegrounds helped with what we're struggling with at the moment, which is that the balancing sometimes is one team will absolutely dominate, and after about 5 minutes of gameplay, the other team is stuck in their spawn. Now that's no fun for anyone. If it's too easy for one team and they just steamroll, the game's over super quickly, yes, they win. But once you've won the daily, you're not doing it for the win, you're doing it for the gameplay. And wiping people and watching them sit and spawn and just ride time out isn't fun. And then obviously on the flip side of that, being the players getting absolutely demolished, there's no fun in that at all. If you never stood a chance to begin with and you're resorting to sitting in spawn, there's no fun. So I think having 3 teams will kind of balance that out. It won't just be one team versus one team. So I would like to see that back in 2026. I think changes to Imperial City, it was a really good update for PvP when it first came out, and I think they need to do something in there to get that back. And I don't know whether that's a special event. Obviously they do loads of PvP events, mid-year mayhem and whatever. Whether there is an event that they need to do in IC that they can implement in 2026 to get that back. And I think that is 100% possible, and I think there is enough of that. Even if it was just for a couple of weeks, that everyone would then get back into IC to do this event, I think that would be fantastic. The same as Mid-Year Mayhem draws a lot of PvE players in. That in itself, for that brief period, makes PvP more interesting. There's more varying skill. You have the super skilled players that are PvP all the time, and then you have the newer players that, although they're not new to the game, they're new to PvP and all the mechanics. So yeah, I think events in IC to revitalise that, so that it's not just players running around in a ball group giving single solo players a hard time. Reverting changes to Battlegrounds, rotating maps more so that we can see some variety. Yeah, because some of those older maps were just goated, basically. I'd love to see those back. So, maybe 3 teams back, maybe some of the older maps, or event maps that are included in rotation, so it's not the same 3 maps. But yeah, fundamental changes to backgrounds to make that more enjoyable. Balancing to classes, increasing our class identity, really, really important. And I think the balancing is a huge issue at the moment. I look at kill feeds quite often to see kind of what other people are using for my own inspiration, and just to see kind of what other people's numbers are like. So for example, I run surprise attack. If they're running surprise attack, how are they hitting that hard if I'm hitting this, and then trying to work that out. When I look at that, it's the same all the time. It is deep fissure, and then it's a surprise attack, and then it is an in-cap, and then it's 2 spec blows, like nearly every single time. So I would love to see variety back into the game that was lost during subclass, and there's no other way of putting it. Obviously, before that, you did. I'm not saying the game was perfectly balanced. You know, there was a lot of players running around with Sorks because the DPS you could get out of them was insane, because you could get like 70k Magicka. There were problems, but I don't think there was as many problems, and I don't think there was as rigid a meta as there is currently. So to see that fixed in 2026 would be immense. It would be amazing. And then, yeah, an end to all this Vengeance. That would be amazing as well. But yeah, no, that is my hopeful prospects for 2026, and kind of where my head is at with this whole Vengeance. I think the reign that they have going is very apt for what a dreary event in game mode this is. So yeah, hopefully that wasn't too negative, and I would obviously love to hear all of your thoughts on what you're hoping for ESO in 2026. Not only the PvP, I'd love to hear about the PvE as well, because I think there are some fundamental flaws in that as well. For example, I'm currently trying to grind myself perfected Nalaka, because I think I have a pretty nice meta build including that. Trying to find trials, only one normal trial. We actually have some veteran ones. Earlier we had no veteran ones. So, you know, having a look at, you know, I'd love to hear about what you think of the PvE as well. But yes, no, without further ado, I will finish the video there. But make sure to let me know your thoughts on current ESO PvP, what you want to see in 2026. But as always, like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.